The crowd was loud. The alien voices mixed with laughter and cruel words. They were waiting for the human to die. They wanted to see blood. They wanted to see fear. They wanted to prove that humans were weak. The human stood alone, his hands tied with rough chains, his face dirty, his eyes calm but sharp. He looked around at the massive arena, tall walls covered with alien symbols, strange lights glowing above, the smell of smoke and iron filling the air. The alien leader raised a clawed hand and shouted, "Throw him down! Let him be food for the beast." The crowd roared even louder, their sharp teeth shining as they laughed, their eyes full of cruelty. The floor beneath the human opened. A dark hole waiting below. He was pushed hard, his body falling into the pit, the sound of chains rattling as he dropped. The crowd above leaning closer to watch. He landed hard on the ground, pain rushing through his body, dust rising around him, the darkness thick and heavy, the air damp and strange. He could hear something moving, slow, heavy steps echoing in the shadows. The human stood up, his body hurt but his mind clear. He pulled the chains free and let them fall. He looked into the blackness, his breath steady. He knew death was near, but he would not bow, he would not break. Then the growl came, low and deep, a sound that made the walls tremble. Glowing eyes appeared in the darkness. One pair, then two, then three. They moved closer, sharp teeth glinting, claws scratching the stone floor. The crowd above screamed with joy. Tear him apart, crush him, rip him. Their voices filled the pit like thunder. But the human did not move back. He did not beg. He stared into the eyes of the first beast. The beast was huge, taller than a man. Its skin dark and rough, its mouth wide with jagged teeth. Drool dripping down, it roared and rushed forward. The ground shaking under its weight, the human moved fast, rolling aside as the beast's claws slashed the air. Stone cracked where the blow landed, dust flying everywhere. The human grabbed a broken rock from the ground, his hand tight, his eyes sharp. The beast turned, growling. Angry that its prey had escaped, it rushed again, this time faster, its teeth aiming for the human's neck. The human ducked low, thrusting the rock into the beast's jaw, the sharp edge cutting deep. The beast howled in pain, pulling back, blood dripping, the crowd above gasping in shock. They had not expected the human to fight back. They had not expected him to hurt the monster. The human's chest rose and fell, sweat on his face, but his spirit did not shake. He knew he could not win by strength. He must use speed, mind, and courage. The beast roared again, charging blindly. But the human used the walls, climbing halfway up a rough stone, then jumping down onto the beast's back, holding tight. The beast slammed against the wall, trying to throw him off. The human slammed the rock again and again into its head, until the beast collapsed, its body heavy and still, the pit silent for a moment. The human standing on the dead beast's body, chest rising, eyes burning. The crowd above was shocked, some silent, some shouting in anger. Impossible, weak creature, he should be dead. But others whispered fear in their voices. He is different. He is dangerous. Before the human could breathe, another growl filled the pit, louder, deeper, the air colder. A second beast stepped from the shadows, bigger than the first, its eyes glowing like fire, its mouth opening with a hiss. The human dropped the bloody rock, his hand empty now, his body tired but his will stronger than ever. He looked at the new monster and whispered to himself, "Not yet, not today." The crowd leaned closer, their hearts racing, their cruel laughter gone. They wanted to see what would happen next. They wanted to see if the human would finally break. The beast lowered its head, ready to strike. The human stood still, his eyes locked on the creature. Sweat dripping, blood running from his arm. Silence filled the pit for a long moment. And then, the second beast charged. The second beast charged like thunder, its claws cutting the ground, its roar shaking the stone walls. The human stood frozen for a moment, his body weak, his wounds burning, but his mind sharp, his eyes watching every move. At the last second, he rolled to the side, the beast's massive body crashing into the wall, stones cracking and dust flying everywhere. The crowd above screamed in excitement. Some laughed, some cursed. They wanted blood. They wanted to see the human torn apart. The human grabbed another sharp rock from the ground, his hand bleeding as he held it tight. He knew this rock would not kill such a monster, but maybe, just maybe, it could buy him time. The beast turned fast, its glowing eyes fixed on him. It opened its jaws wide, sharp teeth glistening with saliva, a hot breath smelling of death hitting the human's face. The beast lunged forward and the human barely dodged again. Rolling across the dirt, the crowd shouted louder, their voices like fire above. "Run, little human, run! Let the beast eat you," they mocked. But the human did not listen. He was thinking. always thinking. His mind moving faster than his body. The pit was not empty. It was full of broken bones, old weapons, chains, pieces of metal left from others who had died before him. The human's eyes searched quickly, and there he saw it, a broken spear buried half in the dirt. The beast roared again and rushed. The human sprinted, his legs burning, his chest heavy. He ran for the spear, sliding across the ground, his fingers gripping the wooden shaft. The spear cracked but did not break. It was weak, but it was something. The beast charged once more, dust exploding behind its steps. The human held the spear firm, planting one end into the ground, angling it upward, his arms shaking with the effort. The beast jumped at him, claws ready to tear, but its own weight betrayed it. The spear pierced its chest. Breaking deep inside, the beast screamed in pain, blood spraying across the dirt, its body thrashing wildly. The human was thrown back by the force, rolling across the ground. The spear snapped in two, but the damage was done. The beast staggered, roaring in fury, its glowing eyes full of hate, its breath ragged. The crowd gasped. Some shouted in disbelief, "How? How is he still alive?" Others shouted in anger, "No, crush him, finish him. No human can survive this." The beast turned again. Slower now, but still full of rage, it limped toward him, its claws dragging lines in the dirt. The human's chest rose and fell, his hands empty again, his body shaking, but his spirit burning stronger than before. He picked up a chain from the ground. Heavy, cold, covered in rust, he wrapped it around his arm. His eyes never leaving the beast, he moved closer, step by step, his breath slow, his will unbroken. The beast swung a claw, but the human ducked, the chain whipping out, wrapping around the beast's jaw. The creature roared and pulled back. The human held tight, his feet sliding across the dirt, the chain cutting his skin, blood dripping. The crowd leaned closer, silent now. They had never seen this before. A human standing against a beast, not with fear, but with fire, not begging but fighting. The beast shook its head wildly, the chain cutting deeper. Its roars turning to painful cries, the human pulled harder, dragging the chain tighter around its throat until the beast choked. Gasping for breath, the beast collapsed, its massive body falling with a crash, dust rising like smoke, the ground shaking under its weight. The human fell to his knees, his arms trembling, his body broken, but his eyes alive for a moment. Silence filled the pit. Even the crowd forgot to cheer. Even the alien leader leaned forward, his claws gripping the railing, his eyes narrow. Then the crowd erupted. Some shouted in anger, others in shock, some even cheered. Though their voices were quickly silenced, the alien leader raised his hand, his face dark with rage. The human pushed himself up, his body weak but his back straight. He stood on the fallen beast, chest rising, blood dripping, but his spirit unshaken. His eyes stared up at the crowd, at the alien leader, and then from the shadows, another sound came, not a roar, not a growl, but something different, something slow and heavy. A deep thump, like footsteps too big for the pit. The crowd grew quiet, whispers spreading like fire, their faces pale, their eyes wide. Even the guards looked uneasy. Even the alien leader's face changed, from anger to something else, something colder. The human turned, his body tense, his eyes sharp, and there, in the blackness at the far side of the pit, two enormous glowing eyes opened, larger than any he had seen before, glowing like fire in the dark. A sound filled the pit, deep, long, shaking the ground. The roar of the alpha beast, the true master of this prison. The human's heart pounded, his breath heavy, his body broken. Yet his spirit stronger than ever, he whispered to himself. "Then come." "I am ready." The alpha beast stepped forward, its body massive, its teeth longer than swords, its claws like spears. The pit shook under its weight, the crowd silent, waiting, holding their breath. And the human, bloodied, scarred, yet unbroken, stood tall, ready for the fight of his life. The alpha beast stepped forward, its glowing eyes like burning suns, its huge body covered in thick scales. Each step it took shook the ground. The crowd above was silent, not with joy this time, but with fear. Even they knew this monster was different. The human stood still, his chest rising and falling, his body weak, his arms bleeding, but his eyes sharp. He had fought and killed two beasts already, yet this one was far greater, stronger, older, a creature made to rule. The alpha beast roared, a sound that shook the pit like thunder, the air heavy with its power. The human gripped the broken chain still hanging from his arm, but deep inside he knew this would not be enough. No weapon here could kill such a creature. The beast charged, its claws tearing the earth. But before it struck, something strange happened. From the corner of the pit came a growl, weaker but still loud. It was the second beast, the one the human had fought and chained. It had not died, it had risen again, limping, bleeding. But alive, the human froze, his heart racing. He thought it would attack him, finish what it started, but no. Its glowing eyes were not on him. They were fixed on the Alpha. Its growl filled with defiance, the crowd gasped. Whispers spread, impossible. Beasts do not fight beasts, they kill or obey. They never stand together. But the human's eyes widened. He understood. Something had changed. Something had broken the natural law of the pit. The Alpha beast roared again, angry at the challenger, and the smaller beast, though wounded, stepped beside the human. Its body tense, its teeth bared, it was ready to fight. Not against the human, but with him. The human's breath shook, he could not believe it. This monster, once his enemy, now stood at his side. He slowly reached out, his hand trembling. His fingers brushed the beast's rough skin. For a moment, the pit was silent. The crowd held its breath. The beast did not strike him. It did not pull away, it let him touch it. Its growl softer now, as if it understood, as if it accepted. The human's eyes burned with fire, he whispered. Then we fight together. The Alpha beast attacked, its massive claws slashing. The human rolled aside, the smaller beast lunged, sinking its teeth into the Alpha's leg. The pit shook with the struggle. Dust and blood filling the air. The human picked up a broken spear shaft, running toward the Alpha's other side, striking again and again. Though the blows barely scratched its scales, each strike drew its attention. Each strike gave his new ally time. The crowd above was no longer laughing. No longer cheering, their faces pale, their voices full of fear. Some even stepped back. This is not possible. Beasts do not obey humans. This is wrong. This is dangerous. The alien leader gripped the railing. His sharp teeth clenched. His voice low but filled with anger. This should not be ended. End it now. But inside the pit, the fight raged. The human and the beast moving together, like they had fought side by side for years. Their eyes locked on the same target. Their movements connected. The Alpha roared, throwing the smaller beast across the pit, its body hitting the stone with a heavy crack. The human shouted, his chest burning with rage. He ran to the beast's side, placing his hand on its head, whispering, "Stay, fight." Live, the beast growled weakly, its eyes meeting his. And with a final surge of strength, it rose again, staggering but standing, its loyalty now unshakable. The Alpha turned its glowing eyes on them both, fury in its every breath, but there was something else. Something strange, hesitation for the first time. The master of the pit saw not prey, but rivals. The crowd could not believe their eyes. A human and a beast standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to face death together. The human lifted the broken spear. The beast growled low and steady, and in that moment, the pit was no longer a place of death. It was a battlefield of something greater. Something new was born. A bond that should not exist. A bond between prey and predator. Between man and monster, the Alpha roared once more, shaking the very walls, and stepped forward, each stomp like thunder, each breath like fire. The human whispered again, his hand resting on the beast's neck. We fight as one. The crowd above fell into silence, their laughter dead, their fear growing, because deep inside they knew this was only the beginning. And then the Alpha lunged, its massive jaws wide, its claws cutting the air. The human and his beast roared together, side by side, charging into the impossible fight. The Alpha beast roared and lunged, its massive jaws wide. The human and his beast ally split at the last second, one moving left, one moving right. The pit shook as the Alpha crashed into the ground, dust rising like a storm. The human coughed, his lungs burning but his eyes sharp. He shouted, not in fear but in command. Now! And the smaller beast obeyed, leaping onto the Alpha's back, its teeth sinking into thick scales, its claws digging deep. The crowd above gasped, their voices trembling. They had never seen this. Never in their lives. A beast following a human's word. A beast listening not out of fear but out of loyalty. The human picked up a broken chain, swinging it hard, wrapping it around the Alpha's arm, pulling with all his strength. The Alpha roared in pain, turning its fury on him, but this gave his beast more time to tear at its back. The fight raged on, stone cracking, blood splattering, roars echoing. The human moved with speed, dodging claws, striking weak points. The beast fought with fury, protecting him. Standing between him and death, the Alpha shook violently, throwing the smaller beast off. The human rushed to his companion, placing a hand on its rough skin, whispering, "Stand, fight with me." "You are not alone," the beast growled softly, eyes glowing, and rose again, staggering but strong. The crowd was no longer mocking. Their whispers turned to fear. This should not be, this is not nature. The human commands a beast. What if he commands more? What if he commands all? The alien leader's face darkened, his claws scraping the stone railing, his voice cold. If he survives this, he will be more dangerous than any army. We cannot allow it. But inside the pit, the human and the beast moved as one, side by side, their bond growing stronger with each heartbeat. The Alpha struck again and again, but together they endured. Together they pushed back at last after endless struggle. After blood and pain, the Alpha staggered, roaring in fury, then collapsed, its body heavy, the ground shaking as it fell. The pit silent for a long moment. The human stood, chest rising, sweat and blood covering him, his beast beside him, its body scarred but alive. They looked at each other, and in that look was trust, loyalty, something unbreakable. The crowd above erupted. Some shouted in rage, others in disbelief, but none laughed anymore, none mocked. They had seen something they could not forget, a human walking beside a beast like a warrior with his loyal hound. The alien leader raised his hand for silence. His eyes narrow, his voice sharp. Enough. Remove him from the pit. He has survived, but he will not live long. His words carried fear hidden under anger. Guards opened the gate at the side of the pit. But the human did not move. He stood tall, one hand on the beast's neck, his eyes staring up at the leader, his silence louder than any word. The beast growled, standing firm beside him. Not as a monster, not as an enemy, but as a companion, a protector, a partner. The guards hesitated. They had faced beasts all their lives, but never like this. Never with a man who looked at them with fire in his eyes and a beast at his side. Finally, they threw down ropes and pulled the human up. But the beast climbed after him, its claws digging into the stone wall, its massive body rising. The crowd screamed in panic. It cannot leave the pit, it must stay. It will kill us all. But the beast ignored them. It climbed higher and higher, until it stood beside the human, towering, loyal, silent. The alien leader's eyes burned with rage, his voice shaking. This ends now. Kill them both. But the guards hesitated again, their fear stronger than their orders. The human looked at the leader, his hand still resting on the beast's skin, his voice low but steady. I was thrown to die, but I rise to live. You cannot break me, and now I am not alone. The beast growled loudly, its roar echoing across the arena, silencing the crowd, its presence no longer that of a prisoner, but of a king beside his chosen master. The leader clenched his claws. His anger twisting into fear, he whispered to himself, if one beast follows him, more will follow. This cannot be allowed. The human and the beast walked slowly out of the pit, step by step, their shadows long under the glowing lights, the silence heavy, every alien watching, their hearts torn between fear and awe. And as they passed through the gate, leaving the arena behind, another sound came from the darkness beyond, a sound that froze the crowd in terror, a distant howl, then another, then many. Beasts answering the call, beasts moving in the shadows. The leader's eyes widened, his claws trembling. No, it cannot be. They hear him too. The human stopped, his beast turning its head toward the sound, both listening, both waiting. The crowd shivered, for they knew this was no end. This was only the beginning. The human and his beast walked through the gate, their bodies tired, their wounds bleeding, yet their spirits burning bright. The crowd above was still silent, every alien staring, unable to believe what they had seen, but the silence did not last. It broke like glass when the alien leader slammed his clawed hand against the stone railing, his voice cold and sharp. He will not be free, not today, not ever. Send the true Alpha, the one that no man, no beast has ever faced and lived. Gasps filled the arena. Even the guards trembled, their eyes wide with fear. The crowd whispered in shock. The true Alpha, the hidden one, the master of the wild pits, it has never been called. It has never been unleashed. The human paused, his beast beside him growling low. Their eyes turned toward the sound that came next, a deep rumble rising from beneath the earth, the ground itself shaking, stones falling from the walls, dust raining down like ash. A massive gate at the far end of the arena began to rise, its chains groaning, sparks flying, the darkness behind it thick and endless. Then two glowing eyes appeared, larger than any the crowd had ever seen. Burning like suns, the human's chest rose and fell, his body aching, but he stood tall, one hand resting on his beast's rough skin, his voice a whisper. So, the real challenge begins. The monster stepped forward, and the arena shook, its body larger than houses, its scales black like night, its teeth like swords, its claws like spears. This was no beast of flesh alone. It looked like stone and shadow mixed into one. The crowd screamed, some in fear, some in twisted excitement. The true alpha, the king of the beasts, the eater of worlds, the breaker of armies. The human's beast growled fiercely, its body tense, its eyes locked on the giant. It was ready to fight, but the human placed his hand on its neck, whispering, "Not yet, wait!" The true alpha roared, a sound so deep it shook the bones of every living being. The crowd covered their ears, the guards staggered. Even the alien leader's eyes widened for a moment. Though he quickly hid it, the human's mind raced. He had fought monsters, he had fought death, but this was beyond. He knew strength alone could not win. He needed more, he needed trust. He needed his beast as more than a weapon. As a brother, the alpha charged, its steps like earthquakes, its massive claws cutting through stone. The human and his beast split apart, one going left, the other right, dust exploding around them. The human grabbed a spear from a fallen guard. His hand tight, his body weak but unyielding. He ran toward the monster's leg. Striking hard, the spear cracked, barely piercing the thick scales. The alpha roared in annoyance, not pain. The beast leapt, climbing onto the monster's back, its teeth sinking deep, its claws tearing. The alpha roared again, slamming itself against the wall to shake it off, stone cracking, rubble falling like rain. The human climbed the other side, using chains and broken stone. His body heavy but his mind burning, he reached the monster's side and struck again, this time at the softer joint near its neck. The spear sank deeper. The alpha roared in rage. The crowd could not believe it. Their voices mixed. He dares to fight it. He dares to wound it. Impossible, impossible. The alien leader's claws dug into the railing, his voice sharp. This cannot continue. If he survives this, he will no longer be a prisoner. He will be a symbol, and symbols are more dangerous than armies. But the fight below raged on. The human and his beast moving together, striking, dodging, bleeding, yet never breaking. At last, the alpha grew angrier. Its movements faster, more violent. It smashed its claws into the ground, creating deep cracks, fire-like light glowing from beneath. The arena shaking as if the world itself would split. The human was thrown to the ground, his body rolling, his spear snapping, blood filling his mouth. His beast thrown across the pit, its roar of pain echoing. The alpha roared in victory, standing tall, its eyes burning. But then something unexpected happened. The beast rose again, limping, bleeding, yet still alive. It limped to the human standing over him, shielding him from the alpha's massive shadow. The human pushed himself up slowly, his hand gripping the beast's fur, his voice low but filled with fire. "We are not done, not yet," the beast growled. Stronger now, louder, its eyes glowing brighter, and then, from the shadows of the arena, another sound came, a distant growl, then another and another. The beasts in the dark answering, their voices rising like a storm. The crowd screamed, some in panic, some in awe. They answer him. They answer him too. The alpha paused, its burning eyes shifting for the first time. Hesitation flickered in its gaze. The human stood tall again, bloodied, scarred, one hand on his beast, his voice a whisper to himself but echoing like thunder in the silence. "We are many now." The ground shook once more. But this time, not only from the alpha but from the approach of others, the shadows at the far end of the pit moving, glowing eyes appearing one by one. And the crowd, the leader, even the guards, all realized the same terrible truth. The human was no longer just a fighter, no longer just a survivor. He was becoming something else, something far more dangerous, the master of beasts. The arena shook as the true alpha stood tall, its massive body glowing with power, its roar shaking the stone walls. But something else now filled the pit, something the aliens above had never imagined. The human stood, blood dripping from his arms, his chest rising and falling, his beast beside him scarred and bleeding, yet still alive. But around them, more glowing eyes appeared, beasts stepping from the shadows, not to kill him, not to fight him, but to stand with him. The crowd gasped, voices breaking. "No, no, this is not real. Beasts do not obey, beasts do not join. This is against nature." Panic spread like fire, their laughter gone, replaced by fear. The alien leader's claws scraped the railing, his teeth clenched. His eyes dark, he whispered, "He commands them. He commands them all." The human did not command with words. He did not use chains. He stood tall, silent, his hand resting on his beast's neck, his eyes burning like fire, and the other beasts answered him, one by one, circling, growling at the alpha. The alpha roared in fury, smashing its claws into the ground. The smaller beast leapt forward, Biting, clawing, striking together, the human ran with them, his broken spear in hand, his voice shouting, "Now!" And the beasts obeyed. The fight was chaos. Blood spraying, stone breaking. The alpha thrashing with rage, its massive tail smashing the walls. But it was no longer one against one. It was one against many. One against a pack led by a human. The crowd above watched in horror. The arena filled with roars, not of a single beast but of a growing army. Every strike from the human and his companions shook their belief, their pride, their world. The alpha staggered, its body covered in wounds. It roared in pain. The human leapt high, his beast pushing him upward, and he drove the broken spear into the alpha's eye. The creature screamed, the ground shaking as it collapsed. The pit was silent, dust rising, the alpha's body still. The human standing on its head, chest heaving, eyes sharp, his beast and the others growling beside him. For a long moment no one spoke. The aliens above frozen, their eyes wide, their voices gone, and then whispers spread. He killed the alpha. He killed the master. He rules the beast now. The alien leader's claws trembled, his voice breaking with rage. Enough, stop this, kill him. Kill them all. But the guards hesitated, their hands shaking, their eyes flicking between the human and the beasts. The human raised his hand not to strike but to calm. His beasts lowered their growls, standing tall beside him, their loyalty unshakable, their eyes glowing like fire in the dark. Slowly the human walked forward, his beast following, then the others step by step, the crowd backing away, their fear stronger than their hate. The human reached the wall of the arena. The beasts growled low, and then to the shock of all they began to climb, their claws digging into stone, carrying him upward, higher and higher. The crowd screamed, some ran, some fell to their knees. He rises with them! Their voices full of terror. The alien leader shouted again, his voice desperate. Stop him now, but no one moved. No one dared. The human reached the top, standing on the wall, the beasts beside him, their roars echoing like thunder, shaking the city beyond. He looked down at the leader, his eyes steady, his voice low but clear. You threw me to die, but I rise with them. Your beasts are no longer yours, they are mine now. The leader's face twisted with fury, his claws shaking. You are nothing but prey. You are nothing but a man. But his voice cracked, his fear clear. The human stepped down from the wall, walking slowly out of the arena, the beasts forming a circle around him, protecting him, following him, their loyalty plain for all to see. The streets beyond were filled with aliens. They froze as they saw him, their eyes wide, their voices hushed, whispers spreading like fire. The human walks with beasts. The beasts obey him, he is not prey. He is something else. The leader screamed from above, his voice breaking. He is a threat, he is death, he is rebellion. Kill him before it spreads. But even as he spoke, more howls came from the distance, echoing through the night. The beasts outside the pit had heard. They had answered, their voices rising, their steps moving closer. The human stopped in the street, his beast at his side, the others behind him, his eyes turned upward toward the leader, his voice calm, steady, unbroken. You fear me now, but it is not me you fear, it is the truth. That man cannot be broken, that beast can choose, that chains are not stronger than will. The leader shouted in rage, but his voice was lost under the growing sound, the howls of countless beasts rising across the land. The human's hand rested on his beast's neck, his eyes burning, his steps steady. He walked forward into the night, his beasts following like loyal soldiers, and the aliens watching knew in that moment that something had changed forever. The human had not only survived the pit, he had returned from it, not as prey, not as a victim, but as a master, as a leader, as a legend, and far away, in the darkness of the forests and mountains, more glowing eyes opened one by one, answering the call. The city burned with whispers, the air heavy with fear. Aliens filled the streets, their eyes wide as they watched the human walk among them, beasts at his side, scarred but alive, loyal and silent. The alien leader stood high above in the great tower, his claws clenched tight, his voice trembling with fury. He cannot live, he cannot rise, he will bring ruin to us all. But even as he shouted, his words carried more fear than power. The human walked slowly, his chest rising and falling, his hand resting on the neck of his beast, each step heavy, steady, unbroken. Behind him more beasts followed, their glowing eyes cutting through the night, their growls shaking the ground. The crowd of aliens parted, some fleeing, some bowing their heads, some whispering words they never thought they would speak. The human lives, the beasts follow him. He is not prey. He is something greater. The alien leader roared again, summoning his guards, soldiers with shining weapons, their armor thick, their faces grim. They surrounded the human in the square, their spears pointed, their claws ready. The human stopped. His beast growled, the others spread in a circle around him, the square filled with tension, every breath heavy, every heart racing. The leader raised his hand, his voice sharp. Kill him, kill the beasts, end this before it spreads. But the guards did not move. Their hands shook, their eyes flicked between their leader and the human. Between orders and fear, the human stepped forward, his voice calm but strong. You threw me to die. Yet I live. You sent your beasts, yet they walk with me. You called me weak. Yet your people tremble at my shadow. The crowd gasped, his words spreading like fire, whispers growing louder. Aliens turning their eyes not to their leader but to him. The leader snarled, his claws scraping the stone. You are nothing but prey. Nothing but a man. His words sharp, desperate. The human raised his hand. His beast growled. The others roared, their voices shaking the square, their eyes glowing like fire. The aliens stumbled back, fear spreading through them like a wave. The human's eyes locked on the leader, his voice low but steady. A man is enough, for a man can fight, a man can rise, a man can lead. And when beasts follow a man, then no chain, no pit, no ruler can break him. The crowd erupted in shouts, some in fear, some in awe, some even in hope for the first time. Hope! The leader roared, his voice breaking. Silence! Silence all of you, he is nothing, he is a curse, but his voice was drowned out by the sound rising from the distance, howls, countless howls, beasts from the forests, from the mountains, from the dark lands beyond, answering, their cries echoing through the city. The human raised his head, listening, his hand resting firm on his beast, his voice a whisper but strong. Do you hear them? They do not obey you anymore. They have chosen. The leader's eyes burned with rage, his claws shaking but his body trembling. He looked at his soldiers, but they stepped back, fear stronger than loyalty. He looked at the crowd, but their eyes were no longer his. The human stepped forward again, his beast by his side, the others following like an army, the ground trembling beneath them, the city walls echoing with their roars. The leader shouted one last time, his voice desperate. You will bring war? You will bring chaos, you will bring the end. The human stopped, his eyes sharp, his words calm. No. You brought chains, you brought pits, you brought cruelty. I bring only what you feared most, freedom. The crowd gasped, the words cutting deeper than any blade, spreading through their hearts like fire. The leader raised his claws high, but his hands shook, his power broken, his voice empty. He could not stop what had already begun. The human turned, walking away, his beasts around him, their glowing eyes bright, their roars echoing. The aliens fell silent, watching as he disappeared into the night. Far away, more howls rose, the sky alive with sound, the world itself shifting. For the human had done the impossible. He had turned enemies into allies, monsters into companions, fear into loyalty, weakness into legend. The aliens whispered his name, not with mockery but with awe, the human, the master of beasts, the one who rose from death. And as the night deepened, as the howls grew louder, one truth became clear. The story of the man who was thrown to die, but returned leading beasts like loyal dogs, would never be forgotten. It was the beginning of something greater, the beginning of rebellion, the beginning of legend. And somewhere in the darkness the human smiled faintly, his hand resting on his beast, his voice soft but filled with fire. This is only the start.